Well, we're going to be crossing shortly to Israel because, as we've seen there, the conflict has really escalated. There are reports of Israeli security forces scrambling to contain riots between Jews and Arabs. Projectiles have been fired on Israel from Lebanon. So it really is getting to a situation the likes of which we have not seen for some years. Joining us live from Netanyahu in Israel, I've mispronounced that, I apologise, is Zina Rakhamilova. Zina, thank you so much for joining us. I understand it's in the morning there and you've been up all night listening to sirens and trying to ensure your safety. Tell us what's happening there.
Hi there. First of all, thank you so much for having me. Yes, I have been up all night. Actually, I work with a company called Socialite Creative, and we actually work with some of Israel's national emergency organizations, the equivalent of the Red Cross, Magen David Adom, which comes here to they come to respond to any type of emergencies, any type of rocket attacks. We keep getting the updates. We keep getting updates from every single point across the country. And it's definitely hectic here right now. And more than anything, even when it's quiet, it's relatively tense. I'm talking to you guys from Netanya, but I live in Tel Aviv. I left Tel Aviv last night because my apartment there doesn't have a bomb shelter. So I felt more safer here at my friend's family apartment where we have a bomb shelter to run to if we need to escape any rocket bombardments. But Tel Aviv has been it hasn't been the same degree as the cities in Israel's south, which have been getting rockets nonstop. But but in Tel Aviv, we've had several bombardments, and I've had to stay in the staircase. So it's hectic here.
What do most people have access to a bomb shelter? Give us an idea, because it's so foreign to our experience here in Australia. Do most people have a bomb shelter that is close to their property or in their property that they can go to when the sirens start sounding?
It really depends on the situation. There are some cities in the south, like for example, Beersheba. Those people generally have bomb shelters that are like outside big shelters that people have to run to. A lot of places in the southern district that are right by the Gaza border generally do have bomb shelters, but they have 15 seconds to get here. Tel Aviv isn't such a target. So because of that, a lot of the older apartments don't have bomb shelters because it isn't as necessary. There are plenty that do. There's plenty of apartments that do, but some of them don't. And so we are stuck in the staircase, and my entire building has been under a lot of stress, having to run down at 3 a.m, at 1 a.m, in the middle of the workday. And we've just been underneath the staircase. And when we hear the Iron Dome, intercept the rocket, there's usually a big loud boom when we know that it's been when the rocket has been neutralized. But it's very scary. It's very scary to be sitting in a staircase in an old building and hearing the sirens, hearing the boom, waiting until it's over, and especially at 3 a.m. Do we go back to bed? Do we stay here? We're very tired, but there could be more sirens soon, and it's happened multiple times where we've had to get up again out of bed and down the staircase.
Zina, I think the world has come out condemning Hamas for the rocket fire against Israel. I guess what is more debated is whether Israel's response has been proportionate or whether it's been excessively heavy-handed. As someone on the ground, Zina, how do you see the politics of all this?
First of all, I want to say that I completely empathize with the Palestinians. It's very, as a citizen that's also now being caught in the middle of warfare. It's never fun. It's terrible. And I completely, deeply empathize that. And I don't think that's been being said enough, that I completely empathize with the Palestinians. And I feel for them being, civilian victims of, this warfare. The question of the disproportional use, my question is, how many Jews need to die for it to be considered, proportional? Are we supposed to not run into our bomb shelters because then we'd be dead? Are we supposed to not fire an Iron Dome? We need to defend our citizens, and we need to stop Hamas rockets from coming in here. The IDF has been targeting Hamas military posts. I get the updates from the army, and the complete truth is that they are not targeting civilians. They are targeting Hamas operatives and Hamas buildings where Hamas is using to launch rockets at Israeli citizens. I think the difference isn't, whether or not there's disproportional force, but rather, who's targeting civilians and who's targeting the terrorists that are making this conflict continue.
Well, no country would put up, Nicholas, with the violence and the hostility and the aggression that Israel deals with, to have its civilians under attack. And then when they defend themselves, or when they take out a Hamas operation, they're criticised for the extent of their response. I just find that extraordinary. No other country would be judged in such terms. I want to ask you about, though, the riots we've seen between Arabs and Jews. This is something that seems to be different from what the conflicts we've seen in recent years. Why is that happening? And is that something that really tells you that this is an issue that's not going to be resolved easily, or in our lifetime even? That hatred that you see where neighbours are turning against each other and fighting in the street?
The riots have been pretty intense, and because of that, that's also one of the reasons why I chose to leave Tel Aviv, because there was even rumors of riots coming into southern Tel Aviv, from Yaffo into an area of Tel Aviv called Florentine. And so I definitely got out of the thick of it all. But I want to address something with the riots that I don't think has been spoken about enough, which is the fact that there was an instance where a synagogue was burned by Arab rioters, but then all of the scrolls and all of the things were actually then saved by Arabs. A lot of extremists, both on the Jewish end and on the Arab end, are making a lot of noise, making a lot of headlines. And, it's a shame, because there was a peace rally yesterday between Arabs and Jews. There's doctors of Arabs and Jews that are working to save people and provide medical care. There's one of my best friends is an Israeli Arab, and I was sitting with him watching these riots, and in complete, we were both, very distressed watching this. And it's really sad. It's really sad that, a couple extremists and bad eggs are making the type of headlines that they are, because it's definitely ruining what is in fact the majority, which is that Arabs and Jews do live side by side here. My best friend is Arab, and Arab Israeli, and I would never change that about him.
Zina, it's so good to hear that, because you do get that impression when you see people rioting in the streets, and the hatred and hostility, and you think must be how everybody in Israel feels, and the fact that that's not the case, and there are Arabs and Jews marching together for peace. And of course, that doesn't make the news in the same sense. Zina, thank you so much for your insights. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you.